feel like Daniel Jones, he eats a lot of criticism, right? When things aren't going well, he eats a lot of that criticism. What can you say about him in the big moments of this game tonight?
That he's so committed and he's so hard working that he blocks it out. But me, I'm going to talk some spit, you know what I'm saying? And everybody that's doubting him and looking down on him, he's our leader and we believe in him. And that's the way it is. And he's going to keep leading us. He's been playing his butt off, and the coach and everybody has just rallied around him, and he's been continuing to be more efficient and make more plays. So I'm excited for the future.
Kayvon Thibodeau from Peacock Sunday Night Football Final, available on Peacock until 7 p.m. Eastern tonight. You can check that out there. The Giants pull off the victory. This was one of those where every time you think you have it figured out, every time you think the trends are tracking a certain way, it just completely reverses itself. The Giants had been struggling of late. These two teams played 2 weeks ago to a tie, and the Commanders had a bye, and the Giants got the crap kicked out of them by the Eagles in the interim. So, of course, the Giants would go to FedEx Field and beat the Commanders 20-12. Giants 8-5-1. They're now the 6th seed. The Commanders are the 7th seed at 7-6-1. Washington holding that half-game lead over the Seahawks and the Lions. Ties come in handy when it's time to sort out playoff spots because you don't get into tiebreakers as often as you otherwise would. And there won't be a tiebreaker between the Giants and Washington because if they have the same record, the Giants at 1-0-1 have the edge. So that works out pretty well when it comes to the dividing line of in or out. And Washington right now is holding onto that spot. And, of course, some Commanders fans today very upset about the officiating late in the game that prevented the Commanders from potentially forcing another overtime this weekend, where there were a bunch of them, and in that series where their last game went the 74 minutes without a winner. And it sure felt like the Commanders were going to pull it off. They had a touchdown taken off the board by an illegal formation call. They had, and we'll talk about that, we'll hear from Terry McLaurin on it in a minute, the defensive pass interference. That was the kicker. That was the one, and I understand, Myles, late in the game, what happens? The flag gets shoved down a little bit more in the pocket, right? Yeah. They officiate it differently. I'm one of those who believes that if it's interference in the first quarter, it should be interference in the fourth quarter, and the officials should have the courage to throw a flag if it's interference. You shouldn't be allowed to mug a guy. The still frames of Curtis Samuel, it's almost like the thing they do. I saw one still frame, like when someone stands behind someone else and they put their arms through their armpits and act like they're their arm. You know what I mean? That's what it looked like. It looked like that's what the defensive back was doing to Curtis Samuel, like pretending to be his arms. There it is. There it is. Yeah. It looks like Curtis Samuel's wearing red gloves. that to me would seem to suggest that the effort of Curtis Samuel to catch the ball was impeded significantly by the defensive back, Myles.
Yeah, I understand shoving the flag a little bit further down in your pocket in certain situations because you don't want to necessarily be the story if you're an official. But that one right there, that's egregious pass interference. I mean, that is really, really impeding Curtis Samuel's ability to go up and catch the ball. He is there early. It is clear and obvious, as we use that term a lot, right? Pass interference. And so I think at that point, you can not only call that, but you can justify calling that. And I think that sometimes is like, oh, well, can I really justify calling this in this situation for this particular play as opposed to just letting them settle it? Like, yeah, you really can. Because at that point, you know, if you're the Giants defense, you want to do everything you can to keep that touchdown off the board. So even if it is pass interference, it's not the worst thing in the world because it means that you didn't allow him to catch the ball so that you set up a 2-point play to potentially tie the game. You can have a goal line stand, right? But I just thought that one was so clear and obvious. You really got to call that flag.
But you're right. You're right. What would you do if you're the defensive back in that situation? You're going to pull the guy down because go ahead, have first and goal from the one. That's better than just giving you the touchdown, and then we have to defend the 2-point conversion to avoid the tie game. We made, or at least I did, snarky comment earlier about the NFL's propensity in these pool reports, which are completely meaningless because all they do is recite the obvious conclusion that we all know they reached. Hey, why did you not overturn the play where the foot was on the line? There was not clear and obvious evidence to overturn it. Well, thank you. We know that. But why? Same thing last night. John Hussey, the referee for the game, pool reporter, asked the question, on the fourth down play, it looked like defensive pass interference. Nothing was called. Are you able to explain what was seen here? Answer, pass interference is a judgment call. To the officials, it didn't rise to what they felt was a restriction, thus they didn't call it. That's basically the bottom line there. It's a judgment call, and they didn't believe it was pass interference. Well, that's good to know. It's good to know that they actually, weren't cheating, that they actually believed they didn't see pass interference. The question is, why? And I don't know that John Hussey's the right one to talk to because it's not his call, it's not his play, and it's not subject to replay review. Like, you're down there in the middle of all of it. I don't know. I'm all for transparency, and there isn't nearly enough of it when it comes to officials. This isn't – see, the pool report is worthless here. The pool report, I don't know that it provides some sense of closure or anything. No, the problem still exists. It was a bad call. They can say whatever they want. They can run themselves in circles. They can chase their tails all they want. It doesn't matter. It was a bad call. And wouldn't you like, I go back to the days of either Mike Pereira or Dean Blandino, when they would go on NFL Network on Wednesday night, and they would explain and address the calls, not just the good ones. And it wasn't just the old TASS, the old Soviet news agency, the house media like NFL Network is. It wasn't that. It was the truth. They would be transparent. They would admit the mistakes. And then the officials get upset that they're getting called out. Well, tough shit. Don't make mistakes and you won't get called out. What a great incentive that would be. If nothing else works, you're going to get called out on NFL Network on Wednesday night when you don't call pass interference, when the guy's arms are draped over his shoulders and he's pulling him backward. So that's what's missing here. And that's the reason why this is upsetting to me, Myles, and then I'll shut up and let you chime in. That's the stuff that makes people say it's rigged. Yesterday after the Patriots game, NFL rigged was trending. Last night, Commanders fans, they don't want the Commanders in the playoffs. They don't want Dan Snyder in the playoffs. Hey, I'm at the front line of dealing with these people. And I try to tell them that's not the case. It's just incompetence. It's not. There's no grand conspiracy against you. It's just the referees aren't very good sometimes. Anyway, it would just be nice. It would be nice if someone in a position of power and influence would acknowledge it, and then they would do something about it. See, they don't want to acknowledge it, Myles, because they don't have to do anything about it. Because, again, I'm not fishing my $20 bill out because I'm afraid I'm going to drop it and forget about it. Just let's get full-time officials. Let's do what we have to do. Let's spend the money to make it better. They're not doing enough to make it better.
It's the lack of accountability, right? I mean, if anybody else on a football field bleeps up, we're going to talk about it, and there's accountability for it, and they get asked about it, and they've got to explain it. The officials don't have to do that, and then they get upset when they are kind of held accountable for it, at least from us and the punditry business, right? Writers, whoever, other people that talk on television or radio, podcasts, whatever it happens to be. But if you make a mistake, then you're going to get called out. And, I think that sometimes there's a little too much rallying around everybody, and we've got to defend everybody, and we've got to do this, and we've got to do that. And we can't just say we were wrong. I think that there should be more of an admission of, hey, we were wrong. We've got to make sure we get this stuff right. There were just a lot of mistakes throughout the course of the weekend where you can see that.
And what's the psychology of that anyway? That's the way it's always been. Thou shalt not criticize. Here's Ron Rivera from after the game, treading lightly, because if you mistakenly tell the truth about how you got screwed, then you got to make an involuntary contribution to the charity, the NFL's choice. Here's Ron Rivera.
The call on Terry seemed pretty adamant. He had pointed his hand out to the ref. What was the explanation?
What did you guys see on the film?
Looked like Terry pointed his hand.
That's exactly what I thought too. Thank you.
And I got to ask about the Curtis one as well. The fourth down.
Yeah, I mean, in fact, don't ask me about the refereeing because I can't answer the question.
Yeah, isn't it ridiculous? Isn't it ridiculous? And I love it when one of these coaches just said, screw it, I don't care. You know what, it's a write-off, I think. I don't know. But it goes to charity. There's got to be a way. It's a 501c3 floating around out there somewhere. You get a receipt and you can take it all your tax. you could tell Ron Rivera really wants to be able to do it, and he should be able to do it. Yeah. Why do we circle the wagons? Why do we protect? Like, we act like the officials are these delicate flowers. We can't hold them accountable. We can't call them out.
They're adults.
We can't. Yes. And hey, you know what? Maybe if you paid them a little bit more, you'd feel more comfortable holding them accountable. Maybe if they were full-time officials, they'd be more accountable. That's another conversation for another day that we've had in the past, that I am committed now to going full-blown assault. There has to be full-time officials at the appropriate time. And it comes down to, Myles, they're too cheap. The oligarchs are too cheap. And it's funny, they tried to appeal to the sense of greed last week when it comes to not firing a bunch of coaches. Hey, do you realize how much money you're spending on the bad coaches that you fired to try to make your team better? Well, that's the problem. There's too much greed floating around in these multi-billionaires. At some point, they have to realize it's good for the sport, and it's going to hurt them. Penny wise, pound foolish. It's going to hurt them if they don't devote assets to improving officiating. In an age of legalized gambling, it's legitimizing the tinfoil hat crowd. It's making people think there are Tim Donahue's floating around out there, and I'm the one that's trying to fend them all off. And at some point, I'm just going to give up. Not that I'm the only one. I mean, but I have the direct pipeline to the fans through social media because I'm stupid enough to give out my email address. I've doxed myself. I've given my assassination coordinates to the world. But at some point, I'm just going to stop and say, NFL, it's your problem. You deal with it. You deal with the controversy. You deal with the congressional investigation. You deal with the prosecution. You deal with all the stuff I've been trying to save you from, because it's coming if you don't change your ways.
Boy, this is the second officiating. Can we get to the Terry McLaurin thing? Because I do want to talk about that.
Yes, and the Terry McLaurin thing, and we see this all the time. The guy's lined up. And he's like, am I okay? Am I okay? Watch the official. He's ready. He's like, I got you. I got you. I got my flag ready. You're in a bad spot. I got you. What is that? We never see that. We see cooperation between the player and the official. Help the guy out. He's trying to make sure he's lined up properly. He's checking with you. Am I okay? Am I okay? You're okay. What's he pointing? What's he pointing at? That's almost worse. That makes it even harder.
It is worse to me.
That makes it harder for me to say to anybody, you're crazy if you think they don't want Dan Snyder in the playoffs.
This to me was a bigger problem almost than the non-pass interference call, because this was a touchdown that they wiped off the board for some ticky-tack BS.
Meaningless.
It was ridiculous because, I mean, the process there, and I never played wide receiver. I'm not that athletic, but I know, even because this happens in basically every level of football, right? In high school, your receiver goes out and he says, when he puts his fist out like that, on, sir. And then the official, as you see there, goes, need to move up a little bit. And then he does. So he moves up. So what are we doing here where it's this ticky-tack garbage that has nothing to do with the play, and the receiver checks with the official to make sure he is on the line? Why then are you just going to say, oh, yes, I'm putting my hand in my pocket and I've got you. I've got you. It's ridiculous.
Wasn't that another Alanis Morissette song? We talk about ironic all the time. I've got one hand in my pocket, right?
Yeah,
and the other hand's giving you the finger. Yeah.
You're just actually throwing up a peace sign. Yeah, I love that album. It's a great album. Can we hear from Terry McLaurin? Because he did talk about this.
Sure, go ahead. Myles is thrown to the sound. Here's Terry McLaurin talking about how he got screwed.
Point at the ref. Can you take us through what you saw in that sequence?
Yeah. I feel like I was on the ball the entire time. If you look through the game, I lined up there pretty much every play. So I checked to see if I was good the first time, and he was like move up a little bit. So when I moved up, I checked to see if I was good, and he said I was good. So no, I'm not trying to get fined. So we had our other opportunities before it to come down like that. That's tough.
But Terry, did you hear him tell you that you were okay?
Yeah, I did. That's why I'm giving him a thumbs up twice to make sure I was good. But I mean, in that event, I guess I can't make it close for a judgment call. But like I said, I feel like I checked with him twice.
It was funny how he gathered himself initially. There was what he wanted to say, and then there was what he actually said, and I don't fault him for that. There's a pool report portion of it on that as well. When John Hussey, the referee, was asked about it, and I'm paraphrasing here just to get through it. Let's talk about the Terry McLaurin play. Was that indeed an illegal formation? It appeared he had pointed to the official. Is the official obligated to tell Terry he's at the line or not? John Hussey, well, I didn't see any of that. I'm in the backfield. Why am I the one that has to deal with this, basically? I was told, and what has been confirmed, is the ball was snapped at the half-yard line. He was lined up a yard back at the 1.5-yard line. In order to be deemed legal, he needed to break the belt line, the waist of the center, and he was not breaking the waistline of the center. That's why the penalty was called, because he was not in legal formation. Question, when a player does point to the official like that, does the official have to say whether he's at the line or not? Answer from John Hussey, not typically. And the official could be doing other things like counting the offense. There's a multitude of different duties, so I can't confirm whether the official even saw that or not, but he was clearly off the line of scrimmage. Look, we see this all the time. Anybody who watches football, you see the receiver gets in his stance and looks, and they look, and they check, and they step back, they step forward. They help them get properly aligned. That has been part of football forever, at every level. You see it at every level. The guys farther from the ball making sure that they are lined up right, because that blue line that you see on the TV screen, by the way, some people find out to their surprise when they actually attend a game in person. The blue line, the yellow line, it's not there. They don't see it. They're trying to do parallax view and geometry and am I okay, am I okay, am I okay? And they cooperate. And it sure looked to me like the official was cooperating, not setting a trap. That's what was so weird about it.
Yes, it effectively was a trap, and that's not something that you usually see. I mean, think about how many times Terry McLaurin probably was lining up on the ball throughout the entire game, which means he's doing this to that official throughout the entire game. And why is it at that point that you decide, I'm not going to be as helpful as I've been throughout the entire game? It's very uncharacteristic for Terry McLaurin to not know what he's doing, which is why when you watch it and you see Terry McLaurin be like, hey, look, am I on the line of scrimmage? And then not only that, but he does move up. So it's like, that's also in some ways a judgment call by the official to say, I am going to declare that Terry McLaurin is too far back, even though he checked with me and then he moved up. I think that it's a certain point, you've got to understand what the spirit is of what dudes are doing on the field. And if he literally knows he has to be on the line of scrimmage and asks you and moves up to do it, put your damn flag away and don't affect a play that then controls the outcome of the game. I don't understand why somebody would do that. That one ticks me off even more than the non-pass interference call. It really does, Mike.
And here's why. And I'm going to quit holding my tongue about it. That is the way that a Tim Donaghy can infiltrate the officiating ranks. That is a way that one guy who is on the take, who has either made a bet or legally made a bet in whatever jurisdiction he lives in, or had a friend or a relative make the bet for him, right? That's a way you can do it. Or some guy that, is just hanging around, offers you a little bit of money to help him out here or there. That is a pathway. That's why I don't like the when in doubt, throw the flag for roughing the passer. It gives too much discretion to the referee, and it creates an opening for a Tim Donaghy. What we saw last night is an opening for a Tim Donaghy because it's irrelevant to the play. It's like calling holding 30 yards away from the ball. Yeah. It's even worse than that. The fact that Terry McLaurin was standing where he was had nothing to do with the play that transpired. It didn't come his way. He didn't go in motion. He didn't do anything. There was no involvement of Terry McLaurin. He was just a bystander. He may as well have just stepped off the field. Just play with 10, right? Yeah. It doesn't matter at that point. It's infuriating that it happened, and it underscores the fact that the NFL better get its house in order, or we're going to be having a 30 for 30 someday. We're going to have full-blown documentaries. We're going to be talking about it for months. There's going to be a congressional investigation about the guy that slipped through the cracks of the part-time employees who are officials and brought down the game. That's what they need to be concerned about. And I don't know why I'm concerned about it and they're not. It doesn't affect me. Well, it does in a roundabout way. I'd like to have a sport to still cover. But I don't get it, Myles. I don't get it. Do you get to a point where you have so much wealth and so much power that you become so arrogant and so obstinate and so thick-headed that you don't have the ability to understand how things can unfold in a way that will screw you. And I almost said the other word.
Ooh. Well, look,
that would have
there's
been
a
good for
partnership.
anybody.
Yeah, it wouldn't have. Then I'll really have to host the show by myself. No, but there's a partnership that exists between players and officials, right? And you have to have that trust, because in a certain point, officials are basically in charge of player safety and making sure that everybody can have a safe game on the field. They do things like that. It's like kind of like flight attendants, right? There's a partnership between your flight attendant and yourself whenever you're on a plane, and you have to follow the rules. So if there's going to be that partnership that you have, then you have to be able to trust the official. And if Terry McLaurin is asking, "Am I on, sir?" and then he moves up, I just feel like there's a spirit of what's going on in the game and within the play that you don't call that flag there, because he is trusting you, and you are apparently, I mean, Terry McLaurin said he was told that he was good. Maybe he misheard, and I'm giving a lot of grace to the official on that. But at the same time, whenever somebody asks, "Am I on?" and then they move up, that's usually the end of it.
Anything other than
99% of the
this,
time.
anything other than this, right?
Right.
Anything other than some obvious display from the official that you're not in the right spot should just unfold. It should be the way it always is. You see the little interaction, a little point, a little this, a little that, and then the play goes off. Not, I got my flag here. Here I am. Like, you know, like the guy at the OK Corral's got his hand on his revolver ready to go. If
Terry McLaurin didn't move, it would be one thing, right?
Right.
But he did. He moved up. So he's trying to be in enforcement of the rules, and it's a silly, I mean, like, it's a legal formation. What are we doing here on the biggest play of the game?
Creating an opportunity for corruption among the officials, and they better take it seriously before it happens. And when it does happen, I will say I told you so every single opportunity I get, because I've been telling you, National Football League, for years that this is what you have to worry about. Now that gambling is legalized and you fully embraced it, you went from hating it in 2009 to loving it now that you know how much money you can make from it, you better wake up before it's too late. And if it does blow up, I am the type to say, I told you so. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.